All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Nadia from Monitor APM, and today I will give you a bit of an overview of what we're currently working on. I will tell you about how we are evolving our metrics dashboard. So what are metrics dashboards? Metrics dashboards are basically a tool for getting insight into your application performance. So without such tools, it would be very difficult for you to foresee and prevent performance problems, because using metrics dashboards, you can track such metrics as memory usage, latency, error rate, things like that. So then you can proactively act on those problems. Essentially, metrics dashboards are visualization tools. So I'll tell you a bit more about how metrics work. So basically, we use our dashboards to visualize Prometheus metrics. Prometheus is a very popular and a well-loved tool for instrumenting your application to track different types of performance metrics. So we work with Prometheus. Our users can integrate Prometheus into GitLab. In fact, they can also install Prometheus on their cluster very easily with one click in the cluster application settings. And by doing so, they will enable the tracking of metrics on their application, and they can see the metrics in their dashboards nicely visualized, so they can see any weird spikes in the metrics right away and act on them. So who are the people who use metrics? Our main persona is a DevOps engineer. So it's someone who deals all day with application infrastructure, and they are usually the ones who are monitoring the application performance, and they would be going to the metrics dashboards and looking at the charts and so on. However, we noticed the trend that nowadays, because monitoring is becoming more accessible, developers are starting to also use metrics, and developers are starting to monitor their applications. So now suddenly there's a need for us to, on the one hand, build a tool that is very robust, that is very powerful, that would cover the needs of DevOps engineers, but also it has to have a very small learning curve. It should be very intuitive and easy for someone to just try it out. So for any GitLab user to go to metrics, to hook it up to their application, and to see if they can track any interesting metrics that would help them keep their application running smoothly. So currently, metrics dashboards is our huge priority on the APM team. So we have a lot of ongoing efforts to evolve GitLab metrics. So some of you have probably seen this comment. Sid commented on it, and it's also in our handbook. If we can get our user to adopt one more stage, they will be 3 times more likely to convert to a paying customer. So knowing that, it becomes very important for us to increase the adoption of the monitor stage. And specifically right now, we're focusing on the metrics dashboards. So how can we get GitLab users to adopt metrics? What are the things that we can be doing to make it easier? So one of the things we're doing is dogfooding. We have an internal customer within GitLab, our own infrastructure team, that can be a really great source of feedback for us. So if we were to dogfood with the infrastructure team, we would be able to get feedback much faster, and we would have direct access to a customer who will, who will help us build a good product. So we're seeing it as a very powerful way to build a product together with like a real engaged customer. So we're partnering with our infrastructure team, who is helping us define what are those gaps in the experience. And we have an epic that we're currently working on to fill those gaps, to make sure that we're coming closer to bridging those feature gaps. However, I think it's very important that we keep in mind that our own infrastructure team is not our only user. So I know GitLab is crazy about dog fooding, and I think it's a really, really powerful tool. But also it's important that we learn about who our user is beyond GitLab. Who are those people? And actually an interesting thing that we noticed in our research is that there are many developers who don't need such robust functionality as our infrastructure team, but whose main pain point is the steep learning curve for enabling monitoring. So instrumenting your application to start tracking metrics, it's very, very difficult. So we want to learn more and we want to dig deeper. We want to better understand what are those pain points of our average user and who are all of those different users that we're serving. So to do that, we're conducting research. Currently, Andre is running the triage problem validation research. Triage is a workflow that basically means that you are investigating a problem in your application. So during triage workflow, a developer or a DevOps engineer will be investigating, for example, an incident, some kind of problem within the application. Reviewing metrics is a very important part of that workflow. So in this research, we want to better understand how all the different parts of the triage workflow, like reviewing metrics and looking at errors and escalating the problem to other team members, how do metrics fit in that workflow? Because if we understand it, then we can connect metrics to other part of GitLab in a way that would increase the adoption of metrics. So we're hoping that we'll uncover some interesting insights through this research. Another research we're running is how our users use Grafana. So we're interviewing a mix of internal and external participants to see what is the difference between how our own infra team and how other external users, how they use Grafana, what are their preferences, what are the top features, et cetera, because our own team uses Grafana for their dashboarding, it's important for us to understand what is it that they need and what is it that they love so much, and what are also the gaps in Grafana's user experience that maybe we can fix in GitLab. We can solve those problems. So, and of course, we also want to focus just on the overall user experience and the UI. Metrics are currently at viable level of maturity. There are plenty of odd things to fix, plenty room for improvement. So I'll just go through some of the main things that we are currently implementing. This is the work that is happening in this milestone and in the next milestone. So we are going to allow the user to view charts in full screen, which is very helpful for someone who's reviewing a lot of data. It's good to have all of that screen real estate. That way you're also able to view more of the legend. You can see all the data points at once. So it's very helpful. And we're also working on an improved table view for the chart legend, which presents all of the labels and all of the values in a way that's more readable. We're also adding chart annotations, which are essentially chart comments that developers use to add extra context to the events in charts. So if there is a spike in some metric, you can add a comment directly to that spike, and now everyone else on your team knows what happened. That makes it easier to investigate problems because now there's this extra context attached to it. And it's even possible to automatically create those comments. So a lot of the infrastructure teams would be automatically creating comments for deployments, for example. So if there's some weird behavior happening, you know there was a deployment at this point in time, you at least know it probably happened because of the deployment. So now you can investigate, you can drill deeper into that point in time. Another important problem that we're solving is navigating the dashboards. So any given team can be dealing with like hundreds of dashboards. So it can be very difficult to navigate through them. So we have a search function that you can use to navigate the dashboard or navigate between different dashboards. And we're now introducing a way to star the dashboards. So you have quick access to your favorite dashboards. And another very exciting issue that we're working on, actually Nick Post is running it, it's a very big effort to bring in more consistency into how we do data visualization in GitLab. Currently, there's a lot of inconsistency. I think many of the teams that deal with data visualization, we've been at a low maturity level, and we're working hard on introducing new functionality. In all honesty, I know it's not just a problem of APM, but everyone is struggling with working on pajamas components. It's just something that gets pushed back and we prioritize stage work. So this effort, I think, is going to be very helpful to get all hands on deck to finally make, create all of the components, make it consistent, reduce the cost of implementation, which is in the end what we want to achieve as well. So yeah, it's all very exciting, and thanks, Nick, for running this. Yeah, and this is it. This is the overview of what we're working on at APM. Let me know if you have any questions.